lesson number 10, and this is my biggest lesson, and it's what I live by. It's something I tell my kids. It's something I tell my employees. It runs everything that I do. And that is, do not tell me no, tell me how to make it a yes. So if you remember nothing else from today, I truly, truly hope you remember this particular lesson, because I think it's very important for us, especially in the admin field, because we are told no a lot of the times. And sometimes we're told no with a reason, and sometimes, we're told no with no reason. But what I want you to do is take that no and spin it around. And this is something that my general taught me. So we were working on another IT issue. We were working on an IT issue, and I went into his office and I told him, I said, "Hey, sir, I'm sorry, but we cannot make this work." I said, "I'm sorry, we cannot make this work." And his response was, "Is it scientifically or physically impossible?" And I looked at him, I'm like, oh crap, this is another one of his word traps he's put me into. And so I was like, I told him, I was like, "I don't know, sir, what is it that you're asking me?" And he said, okay, he said, "What is it that's preventing us from doing what we want?" And so I pulled out the regulation and I said, "This is the regulation that's saying that we cannot do this." And he said, "Okay, who owns that regulation? Who's the writer? Who's the owner of that particular regulation?" And I said, "Well, it's a joint staff regulation." He goes, "Well, who am I?" And I'm like, "Well, you're the vice chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff." And he goes, "Okay, so it's my regulation, right?" And I was like, "Well, yes." And he said, "Okay." He said, "All right. So then why did they make the policy? Why is the policy the way it is?" So I said, "Well, I kind of ran through, what I thought were some of the impediments." And he goes, "Okay, so we need to figure out how to take this policy from saying no and change it to a yes." And that's what we did. And so that is something I live by. It's very difficult to do. It wraps up into the whole change is difficult, and people move at a glacial, and don't be afraid to try new things. They all kind of wrap up into that, because he never took no for an answer. It was always, tell me how to make it a yes. And so I've kind of taken that into my personal life. So for instance, as Zoe had mentioned earlier, I have a software company, and I design software for administrative professionals. And when I talk to executives or other admins, I get two blockages straight off from the bat. One is, my IT department does not allow third-party software. To which I say, bumpkiss. All software is third-party software unless your company happens to specifically design the software used. So that's bumpkiss. So there's a workaround. Tell me what the workaround is. Don't tell me no. Tell me how we can work around it to make it a yes. The second thing that I come across is that, and this is usually from the executives, quite frankly, is they say, "Well, we don't have funds for administrative support." And to which I usually use this, don't tell me no, tell me how to make it a yes. And I turn the question back to them and I say, okay, would you expect your marketing department to run without a CRM? Would you expect your legal department to give you advice without using something like LexisNexis? Would you expect your accounting department to do their job without QuickBooks? So why would you ask the person who sits right outside your door, that has the closest operational day-to-day influence on your job, you the executive, why would you not give them the resources? So that's the way I approach them. And it's all from this lesson that I learned from my boss about, don't tell me no, tell me how to make it a yes. And it's not easy. I am not going to lie. It isn't, but it can be done if you just figure out how to turn things around and ask the right questions.